Hey, it's James here from GoodGuitarist.com, and today I want to explain to you the most efficient and effective way to work on all that lead guitar stuff that you've been learning and actually be able to put it towards something like playing a solo or being able to improvise. I know in my own journey, I learned all this lead guitar stuff, all these scales and all this stuff, but it didn't really make my playing any better. So that's what I hope to help you with today. As usual, all of the tab and diagrams that you'll see in this lesson, I'm going to put them on a worksheet, and that's going to be available on my Patreon page. There's more info on that down below. Also, if you dream of being able to confidently take a solo at a jam session, I made a complete lead guitar course designed to make that happen. We'll talk more about that at the end of this lesson. Anyways, the first trick, I guess we'll call it, that I want to show you is reducing your scale down and focusing on musicality. Like I mentioned before, when I was first learning, I just kept playing the whole scale up and down. And I kept learning more and more scales all over the place, and no matter how much my fretboard knowledge increased, my solos didn't sound any more musical. And then one of my friends said, hey, you should focus on, on soloing with just a couple notes. And I took his advice. I didn't think it would work, but I took his advice and it did work. So let's do that. Instead of playing the entire minor pentatonic scale, starting here at the 5th fret, and just doing, this scale that we all know and love, let's focus on just a couple of notes from it. So I'm going to pick these two notes here, 5, 7 on the D string, and that's it. And I'm just going to turn on a backing track and jam with just those two notes, focusing on everything else. Rhythm, the volume of the notes, the tone, I'm going to try to be as groovy as possible and do everything but focus on the notes. The whole point is to focus on all that other stuff by taking the notes out of the equation for once, because people, myself included, tend to focus on that a little too much. The second thing that I'd like to show you is how to exploit rhythms. Like we just discovered, we tend to focus on the notes too much, and it's important that you're playing in key and playing cool notes, but the rhythm has to be there. And rather than tell you, just be rhythmic, and I know that advice doesn't work, right? That's why I was like, just be rhythmic. You need to learn some actual rhythms and practice them with the same mindset that you use to practice scales. And these 3 rhythms are a great starting point. To generate them, I simply take the age-old wisdom of downstrokes on the numbers, upstrokes on the ands. The same thing that we do with our campfire chords, when we're strumming those. And then we just remove some of the strokes. So our first rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So it's like down and 2 and down, down, up. When I do it quicker. And first I would practice saying it out loud while I tap my foot or like snap or something and just going down, 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 up, 2, 3, 4, down, 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 up. And then we try to play it, remembering to move our pick down and up constantly with the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, 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 up. Just like when we're strumming, we want our arm to be like a built-in metronome, but we're just making tiny motions instead of big strumming motions. And then once we're comfortable just like performing the rhythm on our own, being rhythmic just on our own, we can try that with the backing track and try to line up our rhythm with the beat of the backing track. I'm doing this on a single note, by the way. We're keeping the notes simple. Just going to play, let's do the 5th fret of the G string. throw in some 2-note stuff. So I'm just using that rhythm and trying to, after I play it a little bit, trying to add some other stuff. And once again, keeping it super simple. The whole point of this is we're avoiding that trap of just getting lost in the notes and hoping that we're going to hit cool notes and that's going to make our solo sound good. That's actually what I should have mentioned at the very beginning. I just thought of it right now, but that's definitely the essence of what we're doing here. Anyways, there are a couple other rhythms that I want to show you really quick, just so you can use them when you practice. The next one would be 1, 2, and 3, 4. So, 1, down, up, down, down. And once again, I have all this written down on a worksheet on my Patreon page, or you could just copy it off the screen, totally up to you. Anyways, we take that rhythm, we practice it on our own, like tapping our foot, saying the rhythm, doing all the stuff that we talked about. And then we try it with the backing track. And another rhythm that I think is really important to try, a really syncopated one. So it's 1 and. It's like a downstroke on beat 1 followed by 3 upstrokes. So for that one, you really want to like tap it out. 1 and, or down, up, up, up. Get your arm going with the beat. Down, up, up, up. And make those tiny little motions. Down, up, up, up. And those are some really cool rhythms to really learn. Just practice those 3 rhythms and you're going to start being able to add them to whatever scales, notes, and style you're into. And it's going to really start to, this is the thing that I do with my students that really starts to make them sound like, wow, that guy can play. The final thing, and this is probably one of the most important things, is to learn how to breathe when you're taking a solo. And that translates into leaving space. I'm sure everybody knows that guy who just talks all the time and is always yapping. And, maybe after a while you just tune them out. Maybe 5% of what they're saying is really good stuff, but you never hear any of it because they just keep going on and you've already tuned them out by then. You're focusing on something else because they just keep going on. And the same thing happens to your guitar solos when you don't leave space. Guitar is one of the few instruments that you can just keep playing without stopping. It's completely separate from your breath. Singing, playing a trumpet or like a saxophone, so many other instruments require you to breathe with the music, which makes it way more organic. As a guitar player, we need to steal this concept from other instruments to instantly add a natural feeling to our solos. And to practice this is actually quite simple. Just play a little bit and then stop playing. Just be aware of the fact that playing less is more, that cliche, right? And when you stop, you can think about what you're going to do next. Just try a couple notes. You can use repetition when you do this. So maybe repeat an idea a couple times and then play something different. Leaving space. Sticking to a couple notes. Using those rhythms. I'll repeat. Let's try to play a bit softer. And I'm making a point of, I'm not showing off and doing all this cool stuff that I've learned. I'm keeping it super simple, but making something musical happen. Something that anybody watching this could learn how to play, and going through all of these things. First, just picking a couple notes. All I played was 4 notes there. I used some of those rhythms that we went over, and I left a lot of space, and gave myself time to maybe try the same thing a couple times, like repeat an idea. And that's going to make everything that you do play count that much more. You know, we're reducing everything and making sure that what we do play actually counts. So those are 3 strategies for using the pentatonic scale. And from here, you just need to repeat this process over and over for different parts of the scale. We did it on pretty much just a single string. You know, I went to the G string there as well. Maybe you could try it on the top 2 strings or just the thickest string, you know, just try it in a few zones. And after a few practice sessions, you know, 1 little area per practice session, you'll start to be able to add it up and be insanely familiar with it in a much more exciting way. Not just fishing for notes, but making those notes sing. The other super important thing is knowing the notes on the bottom strings that you can change to any key. And I'm going to put a video in the corner to help you with your fretboard knowledge if that's where you're at. I'll be sure to include that in the worksheet on my Patreon page. So you'll just have like a little play the scale here for this key sort of thing. And before you go, if you want to learn how to solo in a simple, straightforward way that makes sense, where you just need to do simple exercises like this and they're all going to add up to something bigger, my lead guitar course, The Complete Lead Guitarist, is also available. I'll have a link for that in the corner and down below. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and have a fun time practicing. I'll see you soon.